StudyIQ IAS. अब तैयारी हुई affordable.
So before I begin with today's lecture, I would like to thank all the students and the subscribers of StudyIQ, the kind of warm response that they have given to this new initiative of solving the case studies. So we already solved a couple of case studies which has been asked in the Civil Service Examination 2022. So today we are taking up the third case study. But before I proceed further, let me convey the wishes on the eve of Independence Day on behalf of StudyIQ to all the subscribers and the students who are part of the various competitive examination. So in our previous lectures, what we have seen is we have seen couple of case studies. In both the case studies, we will understand that majorly it was revolving around the government servants, and it was majorly checking upon the civil service values and the aspects of probity in governance. But today we are taking a case study which is not related to a civil servant. But today we are taking up a case study which is related majorly to the subject matter of what is called as corporate governance. It is not related to civil service. So UPSC asks not only questions as to how a civil servant has to respond, but also in general, you should be aware of the various ethical values and how these ethical values can influence the conduct of an individual, and also how the ethical values can influence the conduct of an individual who is occupying certain high position in a big corporate. So this is exactly what we are going to study today. So let me just briefly explain you as to what is the case is all about, then I'll take you to the case study and then I'll move forward. So one more suggestion from my side to all the students. So whatever the course of action, the directives that is given in the case study that I am answering here. So I don't want the students to restrict yourself. So you can also put your options in the comment box, and so that the students will have multiple ideas as to how to deal with the case studies. Because what is a case study? A case study doesn't have something which is explicitly right or wrong. A case study is depending upon how you process the information on a given circumstances. So apart from the course of action or the alternative options that I put, there can also be other better options. So I would sincerely recommend the students to put your options so that you will also develop the ability of thinking about it. And at the same time, it can also give multiple dimensions and perspectives to the other viewers and students who are preparing seriously for the examination. All right. So with that, let me just give a brief idea as to what is the case that you are going to deal with. So Mr. Prabhat is there. Mr. Prabhat is a senior official in a multinational company, a company which has been extremely doing well. But however, unfortunately, in the recent past, the company has not been doing well. And that too, the division which is headed by Mr. Prabhat is not doing well, but otherwise this division has been extremely doing well for the sales of the company. But in the recent past, it is not doing well. And because it has not been doing well, the India head for this particular company has been summoned by the head office, which is there in London. And then the head office has conveyed the information to the in charge here in India, the executive head in India, that if the decision is not doing well, if this division is not doing well, which is headed by Mr. Prabhat, that the company has warned that this division may be shut down. And this information was conveyed to Mr. Prabhat by the India head. And in response to that, Mr. Prabhat has said that don't worry about it. We are right now working on a contract with the government of India. We are trying to get that contract from the defense ministry in the government of India. And if we can get that contract, we can make a lot of money and things will fall in place. Although Mr. Prabhat has conveyed this to the India head, but Mr. Prabhat was disturbed because of the fact that there was a warning that the division may be shut down. And at the same time, on top of that, Mr. Prabhat is also going through certain financial crisis, in the sense he is the only breadwinner in his family. And there is an ailing mother for Prabhat, and then his children are right now in school and in colleges. So he has to afford for their education also. And on top of that, he is having a housing loan as well. So on top of this, this is happening in his professional life. So this is the circumstances under which Mr. Prabhat is getting a call from his secretary, and the secretary is saying that there is someone who is called as Saurav Verma. Mr. Verma has come to meet him, and Mr. Verma has come to meet him because there is a position of manager which is vacant in his office, and for that Mr. Verma has come to apply for that particular job. But on further inquiry, Mr. Prabhat understands that Mr. Verma who has come to meet him, he is a manager already, or he is already working in another company which is a close competitor to the company in which Mr. Prabhat is working. and that is also applying for the tender from the Defence Ministry. But Mr. Verma has come and Verma has informed Mr. Prabhat that if he can offer him the position of manager in his company, he will also reveal the details of the tender which the competitor company is going to apply to the Defence Ministry. And with that information, the chances are better that Mr. Prabhat can get this particular deal, and then if he gets a deal from the Defence Ministry, most of his problem may be resolved. So this is the case is all about. So this case involves a number of ethical issues. And what are the ethical issues that Mr. Prabhat is going through is majorly based on which the entire case study is revolving. All right. So with this information, let us get into the case study. But anyways, I'll just go through the case study so that the students get more information on this. As I already said, what is very important in solving a case study is that you'll have to read and reread, try to comprehend, do not bring any information on your own, and try to understand who are the stakeholders, what are the ethical issues in this particular case. Now, once you understand that, you will have to look to the directives and then you will be able to identify how to approach with this particular case study. All right, let us move forward. Let us try to understand as to what is this particular case. Let me just quickly go through the case, and then because I already briefed it, so let us briefly go through the case. So here you can see Prabhat was working as a vice president. So you can understand that he is a senior officer in marketing department at Sterling Electrical Limited, a reputed multinational company. So it's an MNC. But presently the company was passing through difficulties as sales was continuously showing downward trend in the last 2 quarters. That means only off late it has not been doing well. His division, which hitherto, that means till this point of time, until point of time, he had been a major revenue contributor to the company's financial health, was now desperately trying to procure some big government orders for them. So till that point of time, his division has been extremely doing well and it is a source of revenue to the company. But now in the last 2 quarters are not doing well and they are trying to get a big government project. But their best efforts did not yield any positive success or breakthrough. So till that point of time, it has not yielded any positive breakthrough. His was a professional company. So you know that private companies, they look for profit. So his was a professional company, and his local boss under the pressure, and his local boss means the India head is under the pressure from the London based headquarters to show some positive results. In the last performance review meeting taken up by the executive director, that is the India head, he was reprimanded. That means Prabhat was reprimanded for his poor performance. He assured them that his division is working on a special contract with the Ministry of Defence for a secret installation near Gwalior and the tender being submitted shortly. So that means Mr. Prabhat has conveyed that we are working on a project with the government, Defence Ministry, which involves a lot of money, which is implied under that, and if you get that particular project, everything will be over, and we are working on that particular project. But however, Mr. Prabhat, he was under the extreme pressure, he was deeply perturbed. What aggravated, he is deeply disturbed. What aggravated the situation further was the warning from the top of the company. If the deal is not clinched in favor of the company, his division may have to be closed and he may have to quit his lucrative job. That means not only Prabhat has to resign his job, he may have to quit, but also his division may be shut down. So the interest of the other employees also involved in what is going to happen. There was another dimension which was causing him deep mental torture and agony. This pertained to the personal precarious financial health. He was a single earner in the family with 2 college going children and his old ailing mother. So personally also he is the only breadwinner and his mother is ailing, so there is a lot of medical expenses. On top of that, 2 children, one in school, one in college, both are at a crucial stage of their life because they have to be educated. So that also requires a lot of money. The heavy expenditure on education and medical was causing a big strain on his monthly pay packet. Regular EMI for housing loan taken from the bank was unavoidable and any default would render him liable for severe legal action. So personally, you see, he is the only breadwinner and he has a lot of commitments. His ailing mother is there, children education is there, a housing loan is there. So probably he needs a job most. He cannot afford to lose this particular job. Okay, so that's the situation under which the Prabhat has to act. In the above backdrop, he was hoping for some miracle to happen. There was a sudden turn of events. His secretary, Prabhat's secretary, informed that a gentleman, Subhash Verma, wanted to see him as he was interested in the position of manager, which was to be filled by him in the company. He further brought to his notice that his CV has been received through the office of the Ministry of Defence. So, from where the CV has been forwarded to this particular company? It was forwarded from the Ministry of Defence. That means Prabhat is having some connection in the Ministry of Defence. Probably, sorry, not Prabhat, Mr. Subhash Verma is having some connection with the Ministry of Defence, to which actually Prabhat company is trying to get the deal. So, here there can be some implied understanding that yes, Mr. Subhash Verma can have some influence in the defence ministry, because later we will understand he is also good in very liasoning, right, maintaining the relationship. So, you should also see this under the context, if Prabhat is going to recruit Mr. Subhash Verma can help him in getting this particular deal, which is very crucial for Prabhat and his division. During the interview, Mr. Subhash Verma, during the interview of the candidate, that is Prabhat is interviewing Subhash Verma, he found him technically sound. So, Subhash Verma is technically sound, resourceful and experienced marketer. He seemed to have he seemed to be well conversant with the tendering procedures and have a knack of follow-up and liasoning in this regard. Prabhat felt that he was better choice than the rest of the candidates who were recently interviewed by him in the last few days. So, on interview, Prabhat also found that he is better than most of the candidates, because his technical knowledge is sound, his communication skills are good, and he has got better liasoning ability to follow up on certain issues, and he has got better marketing skills as well. So, he thought that he is a good resource. Subhash Verma also indicated, on top of that, Subhash Verma also indicated that he was in possession of the copies of the bid documents that the Unique Electronics Limited would be submitting the next day to the Defence Ministry for their tender. As of now, Subhash is part of the Unique Electronics Limited, and they are also bidding for this project, and he was closely associated with that particular bidding, and so he knows the insider information, he knows the bidding details. So, Mr. Subhash is offering this detail will be revealed to Mr. Prabhat if he is offered in his company. So, you will understand that. He offered to hand over these documents subject to his employment in the company on a suitable terms and conditions. He made it clear that in the process, the Sterling Electronic Limited could outbid the rival company and get the bid and a hefty Defence Ministry order. He indicated that it will be a win-win situation for both him and the company. That means what Mr. Subhash is trying to say? He is trying to say that I will reveal the information provided you give an appointment in the company on certain terms and conditions. So, if the offer is good for me, I will also reveal the information to you, and thereby you can get the deal, I will get a job on a good terms and conditions. So, it is a win-win situation for both of us. But however, please understand there are a lot of ethical issues involved here. That is exactly as the student who are appearing for the civil service, you should be in a position to understand. Let us proceed further. The case is not yet over. So, come on top of that, Prabhat was absolutely stunned on the information which is given by Mr. Verma, because on the one hand he is revealing the information that could help him, but on the other hand Prabhat is also thinking, is it ethically right to get the information and also to give an appointment to this particular person. It was a mixed feeling and of shock and thrill. So, he was thrilled because he may get the deal, he was shocked because of the unethical behavior of Mr. Subhash Verma. He was uncomfortable and perspiring, he was sweating actually, he was uncomfortable. If accepted, all his problems would vanish instantly, and he may be rewarded for securing the much awaited tender and thereby boosting company's sales and financial health. He was in a fix as to the future course of action. So, he actually could not decide as to what should be done, what should be the future course of action. He was wonderstruck at the guts of Subhash Verma in having surreptitious, means secretively removing his own company papers and offering that to the rival company for a job. Being an experienced person, he was examining the pros and cons of the proposal or the situation as he is asked proposals or situations, and he asked him to come the next day. So, once this conversation between them was over, because Prabhat is a very senior person, so he could not decide immediately because there are a lot of ethical issues he understands which is involved. So, he took one day time and asked Mr. Subhash Verma to come the next day to discuss on this particular matter. But however, Mr. Prabhat does not have much time. So, on this circumstances, giving this particular case, as an aspirant, you will have to answer these directives. So, you can understand as to what are the directives that is given here. So what is a directive is what you'll have to exactly after comprehending the case, because a case is something, a case study is something what? As I already said, it is a collection of facts which involves a number of stakeholders and may involve some ethical issues or ethical dilemmas in that. And after giving this particular case, you are supposed to make certain decisions, you are supposed to make some course of actions based on the directives that is given in the question. So what are the directives given in the question? So first thing is discuss the ethical issues involved in this particular case. So what are the ethical issues? So what is an ethical issue? An ethical issue is after a certain course of action or certain facts are given to you, you will have to an ethical issue something which will make you to decide as to what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. So if these issues are involved in the case study, these are all ethical issues. So you'll have to identify the ethical issues and discuss them, and then critically examine the options available to Prabhat in the above situation. So whatever options that he can do, so he had to critically examine those options as well. And then which of the above would be the most appropriate for Prabhat and why. So basically they are trying to assess you the critical issues, the various options, and to critically examine those options and also to choose a best option among them. So this is the directive. As I already said, so whenever you read a case, so what is very important is you have to understand few things. So first of all, you should understand as to what is the subject matter on this particular case study. That is very, very important. So let us try to understand as to what is the broader subject matter on which this entire case study is based upon. But before I get into that, a small announcement from StudyIQ on the eve of the Independence Day. On the eve of Independence Day, StudyIQ wanted to give it's one of the greatest discount to all the courses that is offered by StudyIQ, right from their foundation batch, that is a prelims to interview batches, and also their optional programs which is run by which is offered by StudyIQ, and also various state public service examination courses. And if you want to join in any of these courses, I would say this is the right time to think about that and to act fast, because whatever discount that StudyIQ offers, the special discount that they are providing is valid only till 15th of August 2023. So if you are interested and if you are thinking about any of these courses, so this is the right time that you can visit the StudyIQ page, look into the details of those courses. But if you want to get an additional discount on these courses, you may have to use my code BABULAI. All right. So with this information, let us just proceed further. We will try to understand. So whenever we talk about a particular case, please understand. So the first and foremost thing that we'll have to understand is what is a subject matter, because the subject matter will help you to collect few words that you may use in the case studies. Now what is the idea of identifying this? Because then only you can use the words, otherwise your case, your answers will look the same thing. You will have to use the same phrases and the same sentence in each and every case study. That will not fetch you the better marks. So try to differentiate one case study from another case study, because you will have to deal with 6 case studies in the examination. And that will happen only when you identify what? Only when you can identify as to what is the subject matter. So come to the subject matter. So first try to identify the subject matter, then the stakeholders, the ethical issues, and then go to the directives that is given in the question. Okay. So let me just go through the subject matter. So for me, the subject matter for this particular case study is mostly revolving around the issue of what is called as corporate governance. So what is corporate governance? So corporate governance means a set of rules, regulations, directives based on which a company is administered. So it involves as to how the, in fact, the corporate governance, these rules and the other directives which is part of the corporate governance also involves the ethical behavior of the management towards its employees and the ethical behavior of employees towards its management also. So here for me, two major issues are there ethically with regard to corporate governance. One is Mr. Prabhat company has been extremely doing well, and it is only in the recent past that particular division could not perform well. Otherwise, the employees has been contributing to the company. So is it ethical for the company just because they have not been able to do well for the last 2 quarters, which may be beyond their control, that they are given a warning to shut down the entire division? So is it not put their employees under stress? Is it an ethical behavior on the part of the top management? So is that the way that the best practices in corporate governance should be carried forward? So that is one of the ethical issue. So that is very much related to the ethical governance. Now the second thing is the conduct of Mr. Subhash Verma. So look into Subhash Verma. Is he ethical when he is breaching the trust, if he is willing to reveal the insider information to another company for the sake of job? So that is again related to what is called as corporate governance. So to me, these two are the major issues revolving around the corporate governance. And then the next area is also what is called as ethics in governance. This is also a subject matter that is involved here. So, what is ethics in governance? In general, it is how the ethical values influence the human conduct and the human behavior. So, here I would say that this subject matter is also involved because look into the action of Mr. Prabhat. So, Prabhat is in a fix. Prabhat, despite being a senior official in the company, he is not sure what to do, because there is nothing legally wrong for him to accept the papers and the details which is offered by Mr. Verma, so that he can get the deal. But however, is it ethically right for Mr. Prabhat to accept these information? So, that is a question that has to be answered in this particular case study. So, it depends upon the value system Mr. Prabhat has got. If Prabhat thinks that there is nothing wrong because he believes in the end, and if he wanted to get the deal, then he can go for it. But if he feels no, this is not the right route to get the deal, despite the fact that the deal can bring in a lot of good things, so probably Mr. Prabhat will not do it. So, what Prabhat is going to focus? Is it going to focus only on the end? He is also focusing on the means to achieve the desired ends. So, again an ethical issue is involved. So, to me these are the major subject matters on which the entire case study is involved. Okay. Now, let us try to quickly identify the stakeholders in this particular case. So, you can understand Prabhat and his entire family is a stakeholder, because you understand that Prabhat is the only breadwinner, and he may lose his job if it is not getting the deal. That is affect subsequently his family members also, his ailing mother and the school going and the college going children, so they may also be affected. And then of course, if the division is shut down, the employees, not just Prabhat, will be affected, the employees in the organization might also be affected. And apart from that, both the companies who are competing with one another, so they also get affected, they also get influenced because of what is happening because of Prabhat and the action of Mr. Subhash Verma. And the employees in the Unique Electronics Limited may also go through a similar circumstances. We never know. The company might shut down that division if they are not getting it. So, the employees of those organizations is also affected. The Defense Ministry, which is to offer the tender, so they are also involved, and the project is very important. So, they have to offer the tender to the right person, and it is a defense deal. You never know, it may be related to the national security issue. So, here it is very important that the right person is offered who has got the right technology, who will do it at an appropriate cost, is also very important. So, the Defense Ministry, and I would say that the entire security may also be involved, because it is implied when you say that it is a Defense Ministry deal. And of course, Mr. Subhash Verma, although what he is trying to do is very apparent that he is trying to do something which is unethical, but he also has a stake in what is happening in the entire process. All right. So, to me these are the various stakeholders who are involved in this particular case. So, now let us try to understand the ethical issues, which I would say that normally you have to do, but you can come to the directives in the question. The first directives in the question itself is asking, discuss the various ethical issues involved in the case. That means the fact that is given in front of us is putting us in some kind of problem as to decide between whether what is right and what is wrong. So, what are the various ethical issues, what is good and what is bad. So, try to identify and describe those ethical issues. You will have to describe a little briefly about these ethical issues. So, this is what I have done in the previous slide itself. So, let us try to understand the various ethical issues in this case. So, I would suggest the students to think beyond this also. But however, in the examination, do not think too much, because you will not have the time. But as you will study and as you will solve a number of case studies, so certain information will immediately come to you, and you also know how to process the information. So, what are the various ethical issues? So, first is the company is warning to close the division if the deal is not sealed. So, that is one of the major ethical issue, because the company employs where they will go, and they have been doing extremely well till this point of time, and just because for the last 2 quarters they are not doing well, and if the company is being shut down. Now, in fact, this is a bad corporate governance, or I would say that the corporate governance is not showing ethical values, although legally it may be right, because most of the corporates might terminate the service at 1 month's notice. That is how. But is it ethically right where the members will go, and they have been helping the company grow for a long period of time? So, is it a good corporate governance practice? Is it ethically right? So, that is one of the ethical issue. And in fact, see, this warning that is given by the company is going to influence a decision of Mr. Prabhat. Prabhat might be forced to do unethical things, because otherwise he will lose the job. So, everything is starting from the ethical behavior as to what the company decides, whether the company is doing ethically or unethically. So, this is one of the major issue that is there in this particular case study. Breach of trust by Mr. Subhash Verma. So, definitely it is a clear cut wrong thing. that Mr. Subhash Verma, for the sake of job, is trying to offer very sensitive information. He is trying to offer the insider information of his company to another company. So, very, very unethical. He is not only breaching the code of conduct by giving this insider information, but he is also doing an act which is very unethical in nature. So, that is very clear. So, that is again an ethical issue. Now, the third ethical issue is whether to appoint or not to appoint Mr. Subhash Verma. On the one hand, Mr. Prabhat is thinking that yes, he has all the technical skills, he has good communication skills, moreover, he is very close to the defense ministry, he is able to liaison with them. So, the possibility of getting the deal is much higher, and he is also revealing the insider information, so everything is good. But however, can we appoint him? Is it ethically right to appoint him? Is it not that whatever he is doing is ethically wrong, and by approving that, although nothing is legally wrong to me, there is no legal liability for Mr. Prabhat, so is it okay for him to do that? So, this is a dilemma that he may go through. So, although this is not legally wrong, but I feel this is ethically wrong for me to accept and to by this way getting the deal, although it has a lot of benefits. So, again there is an ethical issue for Mr. Prabhat. And then can Mr. Verma be trusted? That is a big problem. Because Mr. Verma is someone that who is giving the information of his previous company. What will stop Mr. Verma from giving such sensitive information tomorrow from this company if he is appointed in Sterling Limited? So, that is also something that Prabhat has to think about as a senior official, because this person cannot be trusted. So, he is proving his quality, his value by doing this. So, that is something that he has to think about. So, that is again an ethical issue in this particular case. So, now let us move on. So, these are the ethical issues in my opinion. Now, the next part of the question is critically examine the options available to Prabhat in the above situation. So, you can come out with 3-4 options, and you can also make an assessment of these options. So, that is what it is expected in this particular case. So, I have just put down few options, but I do not want the students to restrict only to this. You can think more options also. Probably you can come out with better options also, because the way we process the information can be different. But what is important when you especially write the options? There is no need that every option should be the right option. There is no need that every option should be a wrong option. But please try to have some right options ethically, something which is wrong also, but which is practical, which is sensible. Whatever is your option, please understand, that option should be a sensible option. It should not be an insensitive or insensible or an impractical options that you have to give. That is something that you have to make sure, and try to have a balance as well when you give the options. When you give the options, make sure that 1 or 2 options are okay enough, one option is good option, one is bad option ethically. So, in that way you try to, but make sure that everything is sensible enough, the options are. So, come to the options here. So, first thing that I am saying is appoint Mr. Verma as the manager on suitable terms and get the tender information. So, this is very important. So, once you put him on a suitable terms and conditions, everything is resolved. Probably he is giving the information, might be possible that based on the information, Mr. Prabhat is getting the tender and every problem is solved. The company problem is solved, his problem is also solved. So, this is one thing that he can do that. But then the problem with this option, if you go for the critical analysis or the examination of this option, is it ethically right on the part of Mr. Prabhat to do this? What about his value system? Will his value system allow it? Although the end is right, but whether the means that he has followed, is it appropriate? Because various ethical values say that the means is also important to achieve the right ends. So, basically his inner conscience might question him on this. So, that is the biggest concern in this. Second thing is appoint Mr. Verma as the manager with an ulterior motive to terminate him after some time. Now, here Mr. Prabhat is making a plan that okay, I will get the information from Saurav, I will get the tender. But what is the ulterior, what is the inner motive behind this is only to get the tender. After the tender is over, I will restigate him, I will terminate him from the service on one or the other grounds. Now, why? Because Mr. Prabhat feels that Mr. Verma cannot be trusted. So, whatever he is doing is unethical. So, in this way what Mr. Prabhat can do is Prabhat can get the deal and also get rid of this dangerous person. Because Mr. Prabhat does not believe in this particular person. So, in this way he can safeguard his company, he is also getting the tender. But is it not unethical on the part of Mr. Prabhat to break a promise that he is offering to Mr. Saurav? That means he is doing the same thing what Saurav has done to his own company. So, again this is unethical. So, it might put him on some element of stress and pressure. So, this is one thing that yes, Mr. Prabhat can do if he wants to do it. So, thereby he can safeguard his company. Now the third thing is what Prabhat can do is Prabhat becomes completely indecisive. So what he is doing is he is contacting his boss, the India head. So he consults the executive head India and act accordingly. So here, because there's a lot of ethical issues and dilemmas which is involved, he does not want to take it. But having said that, so here the advantage is that he will not have much pressure. He will not have much pressure. So directly he is leaving it to his boss and acting according to that. If the boss is saying appoint him, then he will appoint and get the information and get the deal. If the boss is saying no, he will not do that. But so here, if you choose this particular option, it looks like you are very indecisive. So never choose this option as the best option, although you can write it as one of the option. Because you understand in the case study, it is for Mr. Prabhat to appoint the manager, which is within his control. So you cannot let your boss to take a decision on what is within your authority, what is within your power. That shows that you are not capable of making decisions and choices. Okay, so although you can write it as an option, but this is never going to be the best option. Last thing, politely turn down Mr. Verma's offer and blacklist his profile in coordination with the HR department. So what Mr. Prabhat is deciding here is that he is politely refusing whatever offer. After the next time he is meeting him, he is politely offering all the is politely refusing all the offer that has been given by Mr. Verma, because he thinks that it is completely unethical. Firstly, he is selling the insider information, that is unethical. He feels that taking this information and getting the deal is unethical for him, because he wanted to do that in the right manner. And then he is also concerned about what Mr. Saurabh might do in the future to his own company, where he is occupying a very senior position, and anything goes wrong, he has to take the responsibility. That is dangerous for him also and to his company also in the long run, because he feels Mr. Verma cannot be trusted. So he not only stops there, he also thinks that Mr. Verma should never enter into this company. So what he is dealing is, he is taking this information to the HR of his own company and blacklisting the profile of Mr. Verma, so that Mr. Verma can never apply to his company in the future. By doing that, he is acting ethically, as well as he is protecting the interest of the company. But then on the flip side, there is a possibility he may not get the deal. But however, please understand, look to a case study. It is only said that there is a warning, the company may not shut down, in fact. Now secondly, Mr. Prabhat is a very senior officer and he has been doing well. So he will use all his expertise and experience in getting this particular deal, even without this particular information. So to me, from all the options which we have written down, so to me, option 4 is the right answer. So which of the above would be the most appropriate for Prabhat and why? So to me, this option is the most appropriate option, because of the fact here Prabhat is acting within his conscience. Not only Prabhat is acting within his conscience, Prabhat is doing the right thing ethically, and there is a possibility with the right thing he is also getting the contract and things may be sorted out. But however, if it takes Mr. Verma, there is a possibility Mr. Verma may lie also. You can never trust this person. Mr. Verma may do the same thing again to this particular company also, which is really dangerous. And hence Prabhat, by choosing this particular option, he is not only decided the focus on the end, but he is also focusing on the right means as to how to achieve the ends. All right. So I think that option 4 would be the appropriate option in my opinion. But again, students can think other options as well, but you will have to give reasonable justifications as to why this particular option is the good one. Okay. So if you want the PDF of this particular case study, you can get it from my Telegram channel, that is Babu Gunashekaran 337. And also you can get more updates by following me in my Instagram account, that is also Babu Gunashekaran 337. I hope that this case study has provided a lot of insights, especially when it comes to corporate governance, and we'll meet with another case study in the next lecture. Thank you very much for watching this particular video. All the very best. God bless.
StudyIQ IAS. अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।